Hey everybody, Coach Greg Wagoner here. What's up, Vermont Gran Fondo people, community? If you are getting ready for the Vermont Gran Fondo on June 28th, this is a training plan program meant to increase your chances for a successful event. So follow along. This is week 2. We're going to kick things into gear here a little bit. Last week we talked about establishing consistency and giving credit to the event. Okay, look back at that video and see what we were talking about then. And this week is we're gonna kick it into gear a little bit. So if you gave some credit to the event, if you know you're going to ride the 150, the 100 mile, the 80 mile, which event are you going to do? We talked about deciding how long you are going to be pedaling and how hard is it going to be. So giving credit to it, how long and how hard is it going to be for you to complete that event? Um, right now, if you have that information, you have a grasp on how long that's going to take you, and maybe we can fine tune it by asking yourself, who are you as a rider right now? How much have you been training? Can you ride for 2+ hours without needing multiple breaks? How are you at climbing? How are you at descending? What are your strengths and limiters? And there's a whole bunch, a whole more options to that, but let's just keep it simple and uh, look at the event, decide how long you think it's going to take, and then decide who you are. In other words, where are you right now and where do you need to be on June 28th? And it should be just that simple, but you'd be surprised how many times an event sneaks up on people who have signed up and uh, just kind of lose track of time, or I'll train later, or for whatever reasons don't come to event day with their fully prepared. So hopefully we can increase the chances of everybody coming to Vermont Grand Fondo fully prepared and having an awesome event. So what is your starting point? Um, and then let's really kind of fine tune what your training plan is going to be. Okay. So I've said it last week. I'm talking to hopefully a wide range of people. I can't just say, here, do this, and that's the answer. So let's talk about concepts instead of exact training plans. And the best question is to get started is, how much time do you realistically have each week? How much time can you schedule training between now and June 28th? This is 8 weeks, okay? There's plenty of time to make a big difference in your fitness between now and then. The key is consistency, and not just checking a box of, oh, I did a big ride here, I did a big ride there. The key is consistency. If you can get a consistent training plan and do it week after week, you're going to increase your chances for success. One other thing is, start scheduling your training time. I'm going to ride from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and from 7 a.m. to 12 or whatever it is on the weekends, and let your family know so that you have that support instead of when are you getting back? I didn't know you're going to be gone. So it can be stressful, or it can be you're getting the support from your family, and it's a much more positive experience. All right, so between now and June 28th, we are going to be building endurance. We're going to be building climbing fitness and skills. Okay, those are three good things to think about. We need endurance, we need aerobic endurance, anaerobic endurance, climbing fitness. We need to go up hills, and we need skills like going down hills and going around corners. So we're going to work on that. Each week stacks on the last. Okay, this is a progressive. Think of making yourself actually a progressive training plan where you go a little bit harder or a little bit longer, preferably a little bit longer, since this is a long endurance event. No matter which event you're doing, it's about time on the bike, and being able to build time each week between now and then, with the exception of, I think we have one recovery week between now and then. So let's start getting it together. And I'm going to lay it all out here. So um, If you use a power meter, and for my coaching athletes, we use power meters and we use specific zones, training zones, and we do an FTP test and we set zones based on that, and we do it gets a lot more in depth than that. But for the purposes of this program, I want people with or without a power meter to feel very comfortable making their own training plan for the event. And so for that reason, we're going to talk about three zones: aerobic or sustainable, threshold or right on the edge of I can hold this for between 20 minutes and an hour, but not longer than that. And then anaerobic. Anaerobic is a sprint or uh, an effort where you go up a hill for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes maybe, but it's a shorter duration, high intensity, unsustainable effort. And so the words I just used kind of start to describe what those intensities feel like. And that's what I want you to start taking away from your workouts is, what do these intensities feel like? Am I a one? Is this super uh, manageable and maintainable? And could I carry on a conversation? And maybe that's where you want to be for a big part of Fondo Day, because if you're on your bike for 10 hours, and I'm just using that as a general, I think most of us are going to be on our bike for 10 hours that day. You want to be able to carry on a conversation, and you want to be comfortable that whole time in order to finish the race. If you get into threshold and beyond too much, you're going to really use up your energy and have a rough time finishing, unless you really know your body well and have trained to do so. Um, so anyway, the point here is that we're going to start learning what those three different zones feel like: aerobic, threshold, and anaerobic. And I want you to start really paying attention to whether you're at threshold and above, or whether you're in aerobic zone, because most of the time in the Vermont Gran Fondo, you're going to spend in your aerobic zone. Now we're going to try and increase what you're able to do at that intensity between now and then. So let's talk about what the workouts might look like, what a workout schedule might look like for this week, and show you my calendar here. All right, so here is week 2. Let's make it bigger. So yes, we're going to talk about gear and fit. Last week we talked about the demands of Vermont Gran Fondo. When you talked about these workouts and this amount of time, maybe 8 hours and 20 minutes. And this week, let's move on. So an hour and a half bike ride. I don't want you to just go out and ride an hour and a half as hard as you can. I want you to uh, keep some reserve in the tank. So this structure here, after a nice long warm up, and again, I'll have all the details, the workout details I'll have in a written blog. We'll share these so you can follow along or read through them. Coaching athletes can get this sent to their device and have a Training Peaks account, but you can still get a lot out of this. Okay, think about a 1 hour and a half workout where you're doing 4.5 minutes seated tempo. Okay, tempo means you're getting towards that threshold zone. Still very sustainable, but not. Maybe you're starting to get a little uncomfortable carrying on a conversation. That's how hard that is. 4.5 minutes, and then you do bump up just for 30 seconds into that FTP zone, that functional threshold power intensity. And again, if you're just learning, if you have a power meter and you know your training zones, great, you know them. If not, then you just really need to go by feel, like, all right, I could do this for a while, but not too much longer. Think about a time trial, or the bike leg of a triathlon, where you're kind of going all out, but you're only doing it for 30 seconds, and then you'll come back down to that FTP. So this is 5. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is about 25 minutes, okay? 25 minutes, and then you'll take 5 minutes of recovery, so pedal nice and easy, and then 25 more minutes of that type of structure, okay? I like that because it could be a good way to approach the hills here in Vermont, the gap rides. Tempo is a good intensity to practice climbing. You can do it for a long time, and it kind of it maxes out your efficiency, but also with those little bursts, maybe it gives you a little bit more. Uh, all right, so that is Tuesday. Wednesdays are usually going to be these endurance rides. So bring the intensity down. It should feel like you can have a conversation the whole time. Your heart rate should not be elevated, although this is a like a super easy, a medium easy, and then a easy easy. Um, right? A progressive, but still this last one is still very manageable. So super easy, easy, however you want to call it. Still an hour and a half, but the intensity overall over Tuesday should be quite a bit less and much more manageable. All right, now let's jump ahead to Saturday. Saturday is we would call this an FTP test, okay? If you're unfamiliar, this would be a 20-minute test after quite a bit of a warm-up. This would be a 20-minute all-out test. Now we're trying to find out what intensity your threshold is. If you have a power meter and you're gonna upload it and you can calculate, do the 95% of what your 20-minute average is, that's a good place to start for what your FTP is. But remember I talked about what these intensities feel like. I want you to know what that feels like. I want you to go all out for 20 minutes and record in your brain what how hard you're pedaling and what that feels like, okay? Um, you could also use landmarks. We used to do this all the time. So you start at ideally, this would be on a hill climb, bottom of the hill, and you go as hard as you can for 20 minutes, and you pick out the tree or the rock or the mailbox that you get to. And when we do this again in a few weeks, hopefully you will get a little further. It's the greatest, simplest test there is to do. Okay, no data needed or anything. Just can I go past that mailbox that I got to last time? Um, Again, record that feeling because you will be able to go harder than that for a little bit, for a few minutes, and you will spend a lot of time easier than that on race day in, I'll call it endurance and tempo. Okay, endurance, tempo, threshold. Endurance and tempo make up aerobic. Remember I said aerobic, threshold, and anaerobic. So endurance and tempo make up aerobic. All right, and then continue on. Remember, this is a long event, and we are practicing long rides. So the point of that ride is, yes, that 20-minute all-out effort, but then finish up the ride to finish up 2 hours altogether in the endurance intensity. That's for Saturday. Friday, I like another hour and a half beforehand. Now, I like to ride the day before I'm going to test myself, or if I'm going to race, so that's why I put this on Friday. You can do this on Thursday and take Friday off. As long as you take one of those days off, I think that's important. The purpose of these openers is to open up the muscle fibers, open up the energy systems, and feel the intensities that you're going to feel on test days. So you're going to do like a minute and a half, a minute to, I have written here a minute and a half, basically as hard as you can go for a minute and a half. Keeping it under control. All right. Start off conservatively and then finish the last 10 seconds of it the hardest. That's how I like to approach every interval like that, where you can go progressively harder and progressively harder from interval to interval. You're not trying to train this intensity, you're trying to wake it up. So there's no need to leave yourself on the ground gasping for air, but go as hard as you think is appropriate for that to open everything up, right? Should be pretty tough. But a minute and a half, 3 times, if you're training for Vermont Gran Fondo, you should be able to do that and not cause fatigue for the next day, including this 10-minute tempo section at the end for an hour and a half total. So again, I will post the workout details in the blog and you can read through it, or you've got it here to look at in the video. And then the next day, Sunday, is I have 2 hours and 45 minutes. Now, if you listened in last week, you did your 2:30. Yeah, it's time to bump that up, 2:45. Again, just the endurance. The next weekend would be 3, the next weekend would be 3:15, and so on. Same thing on the Saturday, 2, 2. I bumped this up to 3 hours on Saturday, 4 hours on the next Saturday. Okay, we're bumping up the volume pretty quickly because we need to be on our bike for a good part of the day on event days. Same thing with the Thursdays, build on Thursdays. If you can, Wednesdays would build on Wednesdays. The volume of those endurance rides will pay off big time. You will be very glad you do long rides in the coming weeks on June 28th. You will be very glad. Same thing with Tuesdays. They do get more intense. I don't raise the time on Tuesdays, but the intensity. So this is tempo, and then we get on to sweet spot. We're getting closer and closer to that threshold, and even some anaerobic intervals in week 4 and week 5. This being week 2 right now. So, all right, that's my plan. Overall, then I had a plan for 8 hours and 20 minutes last week, 9 hours and 15 minutes this week, moving on to 10 and a half hours, bumping all the way up. You really need to start customizing this for yourself and look at what you're going to do. I don't know why that says June 14th. This is just the plan. But it's June 28th. And 2 weeks before that, you need to do a pretty good percentage of what you're going to do on event day. I would say, I mean, if you're going to do a 10-hour event, I would say 7 hours on one day is probably a good amount to think about. Maybe it's 8 hours, maybe it's 10 hours, maybe it's 6 hours, maybe it's 5 hours. There's a lot of different answers for a lot of different people. Depends on where you are right now and where you can progress to manageably. You can't bump up from 0 to 10 in 1 week. Okay, that just causes a lot of fatigue and it's not productive. You can bump up from 2 to 3. These are individual rides. You can bump up from 2 to 3 to 4, and then maybe take a break and do 4.5 and 5 and maybe a 6 hour. Anyway, there's a lot of different paths. The point is the concept of progression and gradually getting yourself more prepared as the weeks go on. All right, hopefully that makes sense. So you can't just show up and there's a few other things to think about, right? And each week I'm going to talk about one of these topics that I've thought are super important. So yes, training, we need fitness, but you need a bike to ride. So which bike are you going to ride? Do you have a choice? Do you only have one bike? These are all questions you need to ask yourself. If you have a road bike, that's great. This is a road bike event, even though there are gravel components to it. So if you have a gravel bike, that works great. The tires on it are probably great. You could consider getting some road bike tires on it, but honestly, the bigger tires, I think, are going to be more comfortable. This is a choice you need to make. But let's talk about a road bike, because I think there are the more things to consider if you are bringing a road bike to this event. First of all, bike fit. Okay, bike fit. Let's not ruin your event by having your training and your event by having a bike that causes pain. I'm not a fit specialist, but here's what I suggest. Okay, three choices. Okay, consult your local bike shop and ask them about a professional bike fit. If they have a good recommendation and you feel comfortable with the person after talking with them, go ahead and hire them for a professional bike fit and tell them the event you're doing, and they'll know the bike that you're riding, and they should be able to do an assessment of your movement and kind of assess some muscle imbalances. Tell them about any aches and pains you're having. They should be able to do that. They are professionals. This is what they do. The second choice, if there's nobody in person to physically be with you in person for a few hours, it takes a long time. My friends at Join Basecamp, we have 2 of them who do virtual bike fits. Okay, joinbasecamp.com, and you can also please ask me for that referral, or go on joinbasecamp.com and look at the bike fit section. My 2 friends that is what they do. They're excellent at it. Now you will have to put your bike in a trainer and have your phone ready to video and do it a very specific way, but they are excellent excellent resource to do a more economical bike fit, and especially if nobody is available in your area, this is a great resource. And one of them is my friend Brian, who actually lives in Vermont. So if you are local here in Vermont, hit me up on the Facebook group or wherever. I will get you in touch, and hopefully you can get in touch with him. The third option is myvelofit.com, or the app MyVeloFit. If you do a search and find that app, it is a great tool to have. You can do as many fits as you want, and you do have to. It shows you how to do the video that it needs, and it walks you through the whole process of doing a few exercises in front of the camera. It helps you analyze what you need as far as for performance or comfort, and that's also a good place to start. So bike fit, those are three choices. We need to make sure you are set on your bike and your bike is set for you to be most efficient. Small tweaks, even sometimes small tweaks in the saddle, the handlebars, or the cleat position can have a huge impact. So if you're experiencing any pain or just questioning, or you haven't done it ever, please consider a bike fit of some kind. All right, and then about the bike, well, that's the road bike. Um, Two other things about the bike. Gearing. Okay, the gearing. We're going to be going uphill for a lot of us over an hour at a time, either 2, 3, 4, or 6 times. The gaps are long, hard climbs in the Vermont Gran Fondo route, and you're going to be, I think I saw a quote somewhere, almost everybody gets to a point where they want one easier gear. So this is not the time to say, I'll get easier gears later. This is the time to get the easiest gearing on your bike that it can fit. If you need to consult your local bike shop, again, get to them now. This process might take time. If you need a bigger cassette, it might also mean you need a new chain and a new cassette, a new derailleur. It might mean you need a new compact front chainring set or crank set. All right, so think about it. You can do this right now. You can check what is the easiest gear you have. If it's a 34 front chainring, the small chainring in front, and the biggest cog on your cassette. If they're both 34, then you have a 1-to-1 gear ratio. If you have a 36 in the front and a 34 in the back, it's not quite 1-to-1. Okay, does that make sense? Or yeah, 36 in the front, 34 in the back. You're not quite 1-to-1. That's a harder gear. If you have a 32 in the front and a 34 or a 44, like a lot of mountain bikes are set up that way, with a 32 or even a 30 in the front and a 44 in the back, and you can go up the steepest things around. So look at your road bike, though, especially. Gravel bikes and mountain bikes will probably have a 1-to-1 or easier gearing, but your road bike, if you have the ability to get easier gearing on it, I suggest you do it. Consult your local bike shop, check online. I'm happy to help consult with that if you hit me up in the Facebook group, and let's get you with the right gearing so that you can have the best chance for success on the hills. The other thing about your bike is tires, okay? Road bike tires are getting wider and wider over the past few years, and so we're not running skinny tires and pumping them up to 110, 120, and even harder PSI anymore. We're running 28 millimeter tires, 30, even 32. My new road bike has 32 millimeter wide tires. They look, compared to a bike from 10 years ago, like giant balloon tires, and I put about 40, maybe 45 psi in them. They are nice and soft. They grip the surface that I ride over, and so when it gets bumpy or even small gravel sections, this bike does beautifully, and it floats through the rough stuff and it grips to the smooth stuff. If you look at the Pro Tour teams, this is what they are doing. They are riding bigger, wider tires with less air pressure, running tubeless, and it's a more efficient, better way to go. So check your road bike and see, is there room to make your tires tubeless, to get bigger tires, and you will be happy you did it. And the last thing is for gear is what about the clothing? What are you going to wear? It could be a lot of different things on event day in June in Vermont. I was just out today with Todd, actually, with our promoter, our event promoter, and it was supposed to rain and be 50 degrees. Well, that could be really cold if you're going downhill, or it could be you don't need more than your shorts and your short sleeve shirt when you're going uphill. So I suggest having uh, a good set of bib shorts with good padding, tested. Make sure you test it out on long rides. And I suggest having a rain jacket because it could get wet and you will be very happy that you have it. A set of arm warmers or a base layer or a wind vest. Think about having options for from 45 degrees all the way up to 80s and even 90 degrees. Being cold is probably more likely a problem than but overheating is not necessarily the gear, even though you don't want to be overdressed if it is super hot, but you will be happier to prevent being super cold on downhills after you've climbed and you're sweaty and you go downhill and it starts getting really cold and it can be dangerous. So think about the clothing and what you're going to wear. And again, I'm happy to talk more about it or throw up a question, or even better, if you're a veteran and you've got something that has worked in the past, please post up. Maybe I'll start a post and hopefully I can get some veterans who have done this event and ridden in Vermont and can help say what they use that has worked in the past. So that's what I have for this week. So again, an honest reflection about where you are right now and where you need to get to. Uh, Make smart adjustments to your training, your scheduling, maybe to your bike, and get to know who you are as an athlete, and that can guide your training in the coming weeks. Make sure your bike is working for you, not against you. Get the bike fit, get it working, and join the Facebook group if you're not in it. If you're catching this on an email, join the Facebook group and please help me out. That would be great, and it'd be nice to know that other people are getting something out of this. What's your training looking like? I'm going to talk about fueling next week. There's so many topics. There's a lot goes into riding a successful, spending a day like this on your bike. It's going to be hard. It's going to be challenging, but let's make it work for everyone. So, all right, everybody, see you next week. Thank you.